The first thing that confident people do is that they work through their past. Often our anxiety and insecurity comes not from where we are now, but what we've been through before. We think that what we went through was something we deserved, or we feel what we went through defines who we are today, and that makes us feel a lack of confidence. Confident people, however, don't let their past live as it is. They try to make sense of it. They try to learn how they can navigate through those past experiences and see how they've been effective. I want to share with you a really practical activity you can do. What are the gifts that you received from your parents? What are the skills? What are the qualities? What are the abilities that you gained from their parenting? When you realize that, you're already reaffirming the definition. As you learn to assure yourselves and become confident about the abilities and qualities you have, you're creating confidence. Now, I also want you to reflect on what you believe are the gaps that you may have received from your background. What are the areas of your life that you feel you missed out on that make you feel insecure? When you understand that, you start to recognize that this isn't a gap in you. It's a gap or a hole in your experience. Now remember, you can always improve your experience. You can always improve yourself. But first, we have to conquer the past by trying to understand it. The second way to develop confidence is to construct a high-value skill. When we have a high-value skill, we learn to value ourselves and we don't let other people dictate our value. A lot of the time we don't feel confident is because we don't feel we have something to offer. But here's the thing, each and every person has a genius and has unique potential, but we have to turn that potential into an expertise through practice. For me, I remember being an extremely shy kid growing up. My parents forced me to go to public speaking and drama school from age 11 through to age 18. I realized that as I developed the skill to articulate and communicate effectively, it allowed me to be more confident. And then my confidence was gained when I learned through the Vedas, when I lived with the monks and learned how to meditate. As soon as you start to learn a high-value skill, you start to develop your confidence. Young people especially struggle because they feel like a generalist. They feel like they're okay at everything. When we can actually focus on mastery, we start to develop confidence. And this is a healthy way of developing confidence, because in the pursuit of mastery, you will overcome lots of challenges. You will have to develop resilience. You'll actually have to deal with setback and failure. Now your confidence is not based on arrogance or cockiness. Your confidence is based on your ability to deal with challenging situations. Your skill could be anything: marketing, technology, acting, singing, web design, photography, videography, the list goes on. I want you to schedule your next 4 weekends to be experimenting with a new skill or a new class or workshop. Then based on that, I want you to decide which one you may want to turn into a high value skill. The more you experience, the more you explore, the more you allow yourself to be exposed to, the more likely you're going to find something that you want to turn into expertise. The next step is to constantly learn. Now this may sound like a lot of work, but actually learning can be something that gives you a sense of achievement, sense of drive, sense of momentum, and a feeling like you're moving forward and towards something. When you dabble in articles, books, podcasts, you start to feel this sense of being alive. You have something to share in every conversation. You have something to add. You are more inclined to listen, to learn more, and see how your idea develops. Confidence comes from the ability to engage in a conversation and the feeling that you're moving forward, the feeling that you don't feel stuck or trapped in a space. Learning and consistently learning can truly transform the way you feel about yourself. You start to trust yourself. You think to yourself, wow, I remember this from what I read last week. I was able to apply that idea at work today. When you start to connect the dots around what you're learning and what you're growing in, that makes you feel a sense of confidence. The fourth step is to be compassionate. When you're compassionate toward yourself, you give yourself a break for not knowing everything or getting everything right all the time. I used to think that if every time a client asked me a question, I could give the perfect, best, most powerful answer, then that was what made me valuable. I started to realize that I couldn't fix someone's problems through an answer. I started to recognize that listening, understanding, creating content that allowed me to think more broadly and deeply was actually going to be more useful to someone when they could make sense of it themselves. Having compassion for myself and realizing I didn't have to be perfect all the time, which is impossible for each and every person, allowed me to actually find my unique potential. And my clients, what they really enjoyed was the conversation that came out of it, not that they were impressed by a speedy response. Remember, it's not about being perfect. Confidence shows that you're okay with being wrong, you're okay with not knowing, and you're okay with desiring to learn and research so you can expand your skills. Usually when people work hard, they become more hard-hearted. They become more cold. They start to judge people more because they think they're doing more than others. But when you work hard for the right purpose and the right reasons, you actually become more soft-hearted. That soft-heartedness makes you more compassionate and empathetic to realizing if you've had to work so hard, imagine how difficult it is for others. You start to understand their journey better. The next step is called calm responses. Confidence comes not from reacting fast, but responding slowly. Sometimes the person who speaks the least, their opinion matters the most because they're not saying a lot, they're listening, processing, and then responding. And when they speak, people listen. Why? Because they don't waste words. They don't come across hasty. They've genuinely thought about everyone's opinion in the room. They've taken the time to process it. Remember, less is more. Be mindful and calm in your responses. Take a moment and respond at the pace of love or the rhythm of love. Don't act out of force or haste. How can you feel confident if you feel rushed, if you feel forced to say something? Go at your own pace in your own time. A lot of the time we don't feel confident because we're desperately seeking validation from others. We always ask ourselves, what will people say? What will they think? How will they react to what I feel? And the challenge is that we've been trained to ask everyone everything. From when we try on a new jacket or a new coat and we look at our friend, family member or partner and we say, what do you think I look in this? Confidence comes from asking yourself that question. How do I feel I look in this? Often we message our friends and family and say, where do you want to go for dinner tonight? What would you like to do? It's really important that we also get to know ourselves and ask ourselves, what would I like to do? When we start to find certainty and awareness around our likes and dislikes, what we feel works for us and what doesn't work for us, that builds a sense of confidence. Usually when we spend time with a lot of people, we hear a lot of noises, we hear a lot of ideas, opinions, expectations, and even obligations. But when you start to find time with yourself, you can ask yourself deeper questions. Ask yourself how you truly feel about something and what your genuine beliefs are. Then you can act on that internal certainty rather than all of the external uncertainty. And finally, the people that are confident because they competently prepare. Preparation is so underestimated in every field. If you're confident, it's not because you just have a sense of self-belief. It's not just because you act it. It's because you practiced, prepared, and worked. You've planned, you've visualized, you prepared your energy, you prepared your mindset. That's why the development of daily habits